Switching gears to the NFL, we had two undefeated teams play this past weekend, the Vikings and the Chiefs. The Vikings were unable to move to 6-0. They lost to the Lions 31-29, whereas the Chiefs defeated the 49ers. Let's start with the Vikings and Lions. Obviously, it's a huge matchup in the NFC North, which right now is still far and away the best division in the NFL with two teams at 5-1. The Packers moved to 5-2 against the Texans, and the Chicago Bears were on a bye last week, so they're still at 4-2. So this, every single game in this division this year is going to be pretty important, and this one did not disappoint. A lot of foolery with the penalties in this game. I'm not going to lie, that was a little rough to watch. Unfortunate for such a good game as well to see, 16 penalties that were actually enforced. Definitely were more than that, but besides that, pretty good game. Jared Goff did his thing at the end, led the team down to score. The Vikings couldn't really do too much. It was only like 15 seconds left. So, first blow for the year in this matchup between NFC North rivals. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it was a good game, right? It's a pretty solid game. And it looks like if you look at the score and you're like 31-29, these two teams had a shootout. The Vikings started out 10-0, right? 10-0 in the first quarter. They're moving. I thought my prediction was safe. Also, I'm going to pause just a second and kind of rewind before I kind of go through each part of this game and talk about it. Shout out to both these quarterbacks. Sam Darnold did throw a pick, but they both one went 22 for 25, one went 22 for 27. Great quarterback play on the day. Also some good running, Aaron Jones and Jahmyr Gibbs. This was just like a good football game all the way around. Penalties, definitely very unfortunate, but you got the two quarterbacks have great days. Jahmyr Gibbs and Aaron Jones have a great day. Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown have big days as receivers. This is just like, you want to watch a good football game, maybe take the penalties out of this one, but you pretty much got it here. This one, it looks like the Vikings were going to start out and be dominant. The defense was holding on. And we talked about this. I talked about this a little bit in our previous video about the SEC this weekend, where Texas, suddenly put on this big fight in the third quarter, but couldn't keep it up. Well, the Vikings went up 10-0, and then in the second quarter, the Lions went never mind and scored 21 points in the second quarter. It's just a really bad moment for the Vikings. As once it started, it just didn't stop. Touchdown, punt, touchdown, pick, touchdown. End of half, 21-10. Vikings fight back, kind of get a hold of it a little bit. They're leading 29-28 at a certain point, and then they have to punt. Lions are able to get a field goal on a little 2-minute 8-play drive. Get just enough for Jake Bates to get down there and get himself a little bit of NFL fame along with his other football leagues. And then you got 15 seconds left, and that's it. So. This game was good. This is a really good game, offensively, defensively. I do agree that the penalties are unfortunate, but there's so much that goes on in this game that is great, right? You got the Ivan Pace Jr. 34-yard fumble recovery touchdown. They go for a 2-point conversion there and don't get it, but that doesn't really matter too much because if they kick an extra point and the Vikings, the Lions hit the field goal, then they lose 31-30. So it's not that different. But this game was just good. Maybe the disappointing thing for me in this game is that I have a David Montgomery fantasy manager. So the one game that he doesn't have a touchdown was a little influential. But I also had I had Jaden Reed and CJ Stroud and a bunch of other players who did a whole lot of nothing this week. So can't be too mad at Montgomery. But I think this was a great game. I think this really does show that the NFC North is a gauntlet, right? I picked the Vikings in this one. I was hoping that would come true. I thought I had it as they fought back and in that fourth quarter, but all it took was one extra field goal to throw it in there and take them down. But this is a great game. I look forward to seeing these two teams play again. I think the toughest thing for this one for the Vikings is you come up short in this one in Minneapolis. So now you got to go to Detroit next time. It'll be tough, right? You already lost the one at home. Can you steal the other one away? It's gonna be a fun year with this division, and I think that there's just really a lot to have been excited with in this game, right? I mean, there's just so much going on. Jared Goff, I guess I didn't mention, did fumble twice. Not super amazing, but neither of them went to the other team, so didn't really matter that much. But yeah, good football game. Maybe the Lions getting that last second field goal is a little bit of retribution for the one time that they almost beat the Ravens, and then Justin Tucker hit a 67-yarder. So all comes back around eventually. But I thought this was a great football game. Definitely high up on the list of ones we should have covered this week, and I look forward to seeing these two teams play again. And I don't think that it's really panic time for the Vikings here. This 21 points allowed in the second quarter with the pick and kind of stalling out on offense does really suck. That's something you got to look at. You got to watch as much film as you can on that quarter and figure out how do we not do that again. But to come out against the Lions defense, even without Aiden Hutchinson, and put up 29 points, almost take the win, and just slip up here a little bit. It's not too bad. The Vikings defense has been a big kind of gem this season. So allowing 31, especially 21 of it in one quarter, is not amazing. But I don't think the Vikings need to panic. They just need to lock in a little bit, because as you noted, the Packers are a loss behind them. They're 5-2, so they're a half game behind them. The Bears are 4-2. They had a bye week. They could maybe be 5-2 as well. So this team or this division could have 3-4 teams. I don't know if that'd be crazy. All make the playoffs here, and they got to really fight for who gets to be the top seed, who gets to be the home field advantage. So I think they proved in this game that this year the NFC will run through the North.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you do look at this game, there's just a couple of things that, hey, if this went this way, this went the other way, like Vikings could have won. So yeah, absolutely. Even if the Vikings went, they were 4-2 or 3-3, like I wouldn't. This is not a horrible loss for the Vikings by any means. I mean, again, with that strong start that they had, I was kind of concerned about the Lions there for a little bit. I was like, this ain't looking too good. Um, and I guess because since they didn't lose this game, they ended up winning in the end. Not a big deal. Um, but Dan Campbell on that first drive, when they first got down at the 33, so it was 3rd and 26, and they ended up getting all those yards back. I mean, obviously the Vikings are not carrying that much because they're not going to pick up 30 yards on a play. But I was thinking like, hey, maybe if it was closer, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, maybe 4th and 3, I probably would have thought about it too. Because heck, this is going to be a game like you said. Even though it wasn't like I guess a typical kind of shootout, exactly back and forth, just kind of spurts of, the Lions doing well and the Vikings doing well. That this is going to be a game where you're going to have to score points. Like this was not going to end 10-7 by any means. So if it had been closer, I would have been fine with it. Honestly, I feel like could have just ran, a play because I feel like with Dan Campbell, at this point, you're not going to trick anybody. Your reputation around the league is that you will absolutely go for it. So I don't feel like I feel like he would have just been better off just lining up. Because trying to run a fake from that far out, like Vikings were not fooled. So that could have been, the reason, not the only reason, obviously, but a huge reason why they would have lost if they had lost. Because Vikings immediately get a touchdown just like that. On the flip side, you mentioned Sam Darnold throwing that interception. Lions essentially finished out the half with just 20 seconds left with a touchdown. Just those little things that can, be the difference in these kind of ball games. Personally, Sam Darnold has played really well this season. And the Lions defense obviously didn't look as good as the Jets defense did in some parts of that game in London. So the Vikings offense did at least show up in this one a little bit more. So yeah, to wrap it in a bow, I mean, I'm not going to take too much away from this game. Like two really good teams are both 5-1 now. We're absolutely, I think, going to see both these teams in the playoffs, and we might see them play a third time this year. Now, a team that obviously they won't play in the playoffs unless they make the Super Bowl once again. Chiefs and Niners. This one really, really kind of sad for the Niners because of how much they're going through with injuries, but also just overall disappointed, especially with Brock Purdy. You'll outline this in a second here, but 3 interceptions for him. I mean, that they lost by 10 points, but you can say 3 interceptions is a huge difference. Especially when Patrick Mahomes himself has a pretty lackluster day for the most part. So Niners, I don't really know. They have the Cowboys coming up. I don't really know what they're going to do. They've got so many injuries over there. It's ridiculous. I mean, George Kittle is going to be out, possibly. He's day to day. Debo, I think he just got out of the hospital today. because he had pneumonia. So I mean, he was actually very sick. Brandon Ayuk he's definitely out for a while, to say the least. So you're down to barely anybody over there on the offense. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey's out. Like as good and as deep as this offense is, if you lose with so many people, there's only but so much you can do. So with that combined with the fact that the Chiefs defense came up big in spite of Patrick Mahomes still not being that great, this is just another kind of weird Chiefs victory, where they somehow just make that team come down to their level and they get another dub.
This is one of those games that I genuinely I sit back and I go, maybe it doesn't matter that I'm a Panthers fan because nobody else is going to win the Super Bowl anyway.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes can have these kind of games and still be 6-0. He's had these kind of games the whole season and they're 6-0, right? We haven't had one of those like vintage like, oh man, that's the best quarterback of the modern generation kind of game. Right? Like the Chiefs are good, they're winning, they're 6-0 for sure. Defense has been there, run game has been there. You get these various things that lead them to these victories. Patrick Mahomes hasn't had like he's had some pretty big highlight plays here and there, but this whole season has been like, man, if they can do this with Patrick playing, at like medium or minimal strength, it might be over. Like it really might not matter that I'm a Panthers fan. I don't have to get my hopes up. I'll just go to the playoffs and watch a bunch of fun football, and I don't have to worry about, oh boy, can the Panthers beat another generational quarterback in the Super Bowl? I don't have to get there. So, but to look more specifically at this game, I wanna do that by first again saying shout out to Jared Goff and Sam Darnold for playing good football on the quarterback end. Because in the two videos we've recorded this evening, we talked about Carson Beck, who went 23-41, 175 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Jalen Milroe, who had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Nico, who had an interception and a fumble, and his backup quarterback, who had a pick because he came in after Nico got sacked. We're in Tennessee. Arch and Quinn with 3 fumbles all together over there in that game. Let me get over to this game. You got Patrick Mahomes, who puts up 150 yards, no touchdowns in the air, and 2 picks. He does have 39 rushing yards and a touchdown where he absolutely trucked a rookie. I can't remember the rookie's name, but he tweeted today and was like, "This was my welcome to the NFL moment." Yeah, pretty much. Patrick is definitely a little stronger than he looks. Laid that guy out. That's a play that I gotta respect that one. You get a good run game and you get a good defense from the Chiefs here for sure. But we look at Brock, as Terrence just said, gets 200 yards. That's more yards than any of these other quarterbacks for the most part. But he also goes 0 touchdowns, 2 picks. He gets 2 rushing touchdowns. They got the only touchdowns for the team there. But or offensively, but man, it's just the quarterback play this weekend for some of these big games was not entirely there. But the Chiefs lock in, right? The running game is great. Patrick gets his touchdown where he punches it in. Kareem Hunt gets 2 touchdowns on 80 yards. Cole Harbin gets a touchdown, and he gets 38 rushing yards as a receiver with a 20-yard rush and an 18-yard rush. 18-yard rush being the touchdown. And then Brock Purdy gets 2 touchdowns on the ground. Jordan Mason was all right. George Kittle was all right. Yeah, it's just a weird game. I really think for the Niners, you got to feel for what they're going through, right? Like next week, it's really just Jordan Mason gets 300 yards or you lose. Like I don't know. I don't know what else you can do against the Cowboys with the state of this team. Like Jawan Jennings being down, Devo maybe being healthy, Kittle with his foot could be and could be not. Jawan Jennings is kind of in and out of there. Ayuk is gone. So yeah, this one is tough to watch a game where the Chiefs offense can still be this kind of lackluster, but put up 28 points. And really shout out to the Chiefs defense, right? You get Justin Reed, Christian Roland Wallace, and Jaden Hicks picking off Brock Purdy. So yeah, just not a good day for the Niners. Didn't come in the game with a whole lot going super well for them in terms of what was going on with the team health, and came out with less going well for them, and also with a 3-4 record. So not super panic time yet in that division, right? Because they're 3-4, but Seattle's 4-3, Arizona's 3-4, and the Rams are 2-4. So that's not the worst situation. Meanwhile, the Chiefs put some separation between, interestingly enough, the Broncos, who are their closest opponent at 4-3. Chiefs 6-0. Chargers, I almost say Clippers. Chargers 3-3. Raiders 2-5. Raiders not in this conversation. So Chiefs get some more comfort. they're obviously going to make the playoffs. And playing like this is a little scary for the rest of the league. But the Niners take a loss that is a little tough because you're below the Seahawks and the Cardinals. You've got the loss to the Cardinals. Things are not looking amazing, and you've got all these injuries piling up. This could be really a year where we thought we had, this is a Super Bowl matchup, and the Niners don't make it there. So I think that this game is tough for the Niners. It's tough to fully put them in fully judge them here. But the Chiefs defense Chiefs defense and Chiefs running game, I think, are the highlights for this game to show that, Patrick Mahomes is a generational quarterback. There's no way you could say that he's a system guy because of the way the Chiefs are playing, but it does show that the Chiefs are still good, and that run game is a pretty well developed run game, and that defense can really lock in and lock somebody up. So I think in the past we've talked about worries with the Chiefs and their mistakes, and they're sometimes having some shakiness on defense. I think this year the shakiness on defense is really not there. The mistakes are there. Right? The picks can be problems. They haven't lost yet, but the picks, are putting them in situations they probably don't want to be in. But aside from that, I think the thing here is that the defense is still there, right? So you can throw a pick, but you also get 3 picks in the same game, and it doesn't matter that much. So scary for the league is what I think some of this has been. I was really harsh on the Chiefs last week. I still don't feel that much more confident about them. Not really happy with their 6-0 start because of the way their offense is played. It's a little frustrating that they can keep doing this, but I give credit to the run game, give credit to the defense. Still a good team. Chiefs are still the Chiefs. Niners lacking on a lot of fields. Still the Niners, but kind of a shell of themselves right now.